Most men walk through life believing that attraction is built through words. They think if they just say the right thing, ask the right questions, and keep the conversation flowing, they will somehow earn a woman's interest. But there is a truth that almost no one tells them, a truth that flips everything they have been taught on its head. The moment a man tries too hard to be understood, he loses power. It happens quietly, invisibly, and most men never even notice it until it is too late. Watch closely, because this is how attraction dies. A man meets a woman he finds compelling, and he immediately starts asking questions to connect. He thinks he is building interest, creating rapport, showing that he cares. But what he is really doing is placing her on a throne. Every question, what do you do for a living? Where are you from originally? What kind of guys do you usually go for? Silently communicates a single, devastating message. You are the prize, and I am the applicant. That is not connection. That is negotiation. And the moment a woman feels that a man is trying to earn her approval, she has already lost respect for him, even if she smiles and plays along. The philosopher Niccolò Machiavelli, whose name has become synonymous with strategic power, once wrote in The Prince that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. While this book was written for rulers navigating the treacherous politics of Renaissance Italy, the underlying principle applies directly to human psychology, especially the psychology of attraction. When a woman encounters a man who does not need her validation, she feels something she cannot quite explain. It is a mixture of tension and fascination. He is not predictable. He does not seek approval. He simply exists with a quiet certainty that she finds unsettling and irresistible at the same time. Asking too many questions is a language of insecurity. It tells a woman that a man cares deeply about what she thinks, that he is trying to figure out how to fit into her world. But when a man speaks like someone who already knows who he is, when he communicates in statements, observations, and intentional silences, something shifts. She stops evaluating him and starts wondering what he thinks of her. She begins chasing his approval instead of the other way around. Because here is what almost no one tells men about attraction. It does not grow from comfort. It grows from curiosity. And the less a man reveals, the more she wants to understand him. When he speaks less, she listens more. When he stops asking for her story, she starts trying to write herself into his. That is how power shifts silently and invisibly, not through manipulation, but through the mastery of controlled mystery, something Machiavelli would have called the politics of desire. The goal is not to play games. The goal is to understand the deep psychological currents that govern attraction and to navigate them with awareness and dignity. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once observed that we should not seek to have events happen as we wish, but to wish them to happen as they do happen. This applies directly to these interactions. A man cannot control whether a woman is interested in him. He cannot force attraction, but he can control his own behavior, his own expression, his own emotional state. And when he does that, he creates the conditions for attraction to flourish naturally. He stops chasing and starts drawing. He stops performing and starts being. One of the most powerful tools a man can use in any interaction is silence. And it is also the rarest. Silence makes people uncomfortable, and when people are uncomfortable, they reveal themselves. Most men rush to fill silence when talking to a woman. They fear that if the conversation stops, she will lose interest. So they start asking more questions, telling more stories, performing for her attention like a court jester trying to entertain a queen. But the truth is that silence does not kill attraction. It creates it. When a man stops trying to impress, he flips the frame entirely. He becomes the one who listens with calm curiosity instead of nervous energy. He lets her fill the space, not because he is passive, but because he is in control of the moment. Machiavelli understood this kind of power intuitively. He believed that people are drawn to strength, and strength is shown not through noise but through restraint. In The Prince, he wrote that a ruler must know when to speak and when to stay silent, because those who reveal too much destroy their authority. The same principle applies in attraction. When a man speaks only when he has something meaningful to say, every word becomes valuable. It forces her to pay attention, to wonder what he is thinking, to lean in. That mystery, that lack of predictable chatter, creates a magnetic pull. Think about it. The loudest men in any room are often the weakest. They need to be heard to feel seen. But the man who can sit in silence, confident and composed, with no need to fill the air, instantly shifts the energy of the space. His presence does the speaking for him. When a man stops asking generic questions like, "So, what do you do for a living?" and instead makes a sharp observation like, "You seem like someone who doesn't enjoy small talk," he creates a moment of genuine connection. It is no longer about the question. It is about the dynamic. He is not trying to get to know her. He is letting her reveal herself. And here is the psychology behind it. Women are naturally drawn to uncertainty. When they cannot read a man easily, their minds stay engaged. Their emotional systems keep scanning, trying to interpret, trying to understand. This creates tension, and tension is the spark of attraction. The Stoic philosopher Seneca, who wrote extensively on the nature of human emotion, observed that we are often more influenced by our perceptions of things than by the things themselves. When a woman perceives a man as mysterious and grounded, she becomes more invested in understanding him. That investment is the foundation of desire. So the next time a man speaks to a woman, he should practice controlled silence. Pause after she finishes talking. Hold eye contact. Smile slightly, but say nothing for a few seconds. Let her words linger. Let her feel his stillness. Because in that stillness, something powerful happens. She starts to wonder about him. And when a woman wonders, she invests emotionally. The moment a man stops chasing understanding, when he stops performing and starts observing, he becomes the one with gravity. He becomes the center of the interaction. Remember, it is impossible to impress someone who is already impressed by your calm. That is why silence is not emptiness. It is dominance in disguise. Another critical principle is the refusal to explain oneself unnecessarily. One of the fastest ways to lose a woman's attraction, or anyone's respect for that matter, is to start explaining too much. When a man constantly clarifies, defends, or justifies his every action, he is silently confessing something. He needs approval to feel secure. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. In The Prince, he warned that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Now, in modern life, feared does not mean intimidating in a threatening way. It means respected. It means being a man whose confidence does not depend on how others interpret him. When a man stops explaining, he sends a silent but powerful message: "I know who I am." And that unsettles people, especially those who expect him to bend, to please, to smooth over his edges just to be accepted. The average man does not realize this. When he is on a date and she challenges him, asking why he said something or whether he really believes that, he panics. He softens his tone, explains, backtracks, and apologizes for having an opinion. He thinks he is being polite, but what he is really doing is teaching her that he can be shaken. The truth is that confidence does not always roar. Sometimes it is a calm refusal to explain oneself. Sometimes it is answering a test with a smile and silence. Sometimes it is saying, "I don't owe you an explanation," not with arrogance, but with quiet certainty. This does not mean being rude or dismissive. It means standing on one's words without trembling. If a man says something he believes in, he should own it. If he makes a choice, he should stand by it. Because every time he explains himself out of fear, he loses a little bit of his masculine presence, the quiet gravity that draws women in. The Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus, who profoundly influenced the development of Stoic thought, taught that we should not use our words to command, but to persuade and to teach. And the greatest persuasion comes not from force, but from quiet conviction. When a man speaks with conviction and does not immediately retreat when challenged, he demonstrates a strength that is deeply attractive. The Machiavellian man understands human nature. People respect what they do not fully understand. When a man is mysterious, he is interesting. When he is always clarifying, he becomes predictable. And predictable is boring. Look around. The most magnetic men rarely justify themselves. They do not need to convince anyone that they are right. Their lives, their tone, their calmness, that is their argument. Psychologically, women interpret over-explaining as weakness. It signals insecurity. While men think they are showing honesty, women subconsciously read it as instability, a lack of emotional control. So the next time a man feels the urge to explain, he should stop, take a breath, Let the silence hang for a moment. If she truly wants to understand him, she will ask differently. A man who needs to be understood will always be controlled. But a man who is comfortable being misunderstood cannot be manipulated. Machiavelli once used the famous metaphor of the lion and the fox. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. The lesson is to be calm like the fox, aware of how people pull at emotions, but firm like the lion, never explaining oneself to please others. Most men chase attention like beggars chasing coins, small, desperate, and grateful for whatever they can get. But attention is worthless without emotional control. Machiavelli would have said that outright. In The Prince, he never once praised charm. He praised strategy. Because power is not about who looks at you. It is about who feels something when they do. That is where most men lose. They believe attraction is built on constant validation, compliments, jokes, endless texting, always being available. But in doing so, they become entertainers, not leaders. And when a woman feels she can read a man like a book, she has already lost the mystery that made her look at him in the first place. Machiavelli understood something that modern dating culture completely misses. People are addicted to emotional tension, not chaos, but tension. That delicate pull between comfort and unpredictability. It is what keeps a woman awake thinking about a man. She does not fall for the man who is always present. She falls for the man whose presence she cannot predict. The key is to control her emotions, not her schedule. And that is done through energy, tone, and timing. When she is distant, do not chase. When she is testing, do not react. When she is emotional, do not try to fix her. Mirror her calmness. A woman does not want a man to solve her emotions. She wants to feel that his can hold hers. That is power. The emotional dominance that Machiavelli would recognize instantly. In politics, he taught princes to manipulate the feelings of the crowd to maintain power. In relationships, the same principle applies. The man who shapes the emotional tone of the interaction holds the frame. The man who reacts to her tone loses it. Imagine this. She accuses him of being distant. The weak man defends himself immediately, explaining his busy schedule, his stress, his intentions. The Machiavellian man simply smiles and says, "Maybe you're just used to chaos." Then he changes the topic. In that single move, he flips the emotional script. He remains calm while she feels stirred, intrigued, unsettled, yet drawn in. That is not manipulation. That is psychological intelligence. Because attraction is not about performance. It is about emotional gravity. A man does not get it by being nice or available. He gets it by being centered, grounded, and unpredictable in all the right ways. Machiavelli once wrote that men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. In modern relationships, love is built on fascination, and fascination is born from emotional control. So a man should never try to outtalk a woman. He should outfeel her. He should never try to keep her attention. He should control the emotional rhythm of his presence. When he can make her heart race without saying a word, he has already won, because every word after that becomes decoration. The real art of attraction is not found in pursuit. It is found in presence. Not in what a man says, but in what she feels when he says nothing at all. Never reveal all your intentions. Machiavelli wrote that every prince must learn how not to be good and to use this knowledge when necessary. He did not mean to become cruel. He meant to become strategic, to play the game rather than be played by it. And when it comes to women, this truth cuts deeper than any modern dating advice. Never reveal your full intentions. The moment a man does, the game is over. Not because honesty is not valuable, but because predictability kills desire. Think about it. When a man tells a woman exactly how he feels, exactly what he wants, and exactly what he will do next, she no longer needs to wonder. And the human mind is wired to crave uncertainty. It is uncertainty that fuels obsession, not clarity. That is why Machiavelli advised leaders to appear open while thinking in secret. It is not deceit, it is discipline. It is learning to move like water, calm on the surface, unfathomable beneath. Women respect men they cannot fully read. They might say they want honesty, but deep down what they crave is mystery with integrity. The kind of man whose next move they cannot predict, yet whose presence they cannot resist. Most men make the mistake of confessing too much too soon. They over-explain their intentions. "I just want to be honest," they say, but in reality, they are seeking reassurance. They are exposing their strategy before they have even entered the battlefield. And when a man exposes his hand, whether in politics or in romance, he loses leverage. Machiavelli's world was built on perception. He understood that people do not follow truth. They follow powerful illusion. And illusion does not mean lies. It means timing. A man reveals the truth when it benefits him, not when his emotions demand it. In relationships, this translates to emotional patience. Do not tell her everything you feel. Show her fragments. Let her imagination do the rest. Do not promise what you will do next. Let your actions surprise her. The Stoic philosopher Cleanthes, who succeeded Zeno as the head of the Stoic school, wrote that the fates guide the willing, but drag the unwilling. When a man is willing to exercise patience and restraint, he is guided toward deeper connection. But when he is unwilling, when he lets his emotions spill out uncontrollably, he is dragged into frustration and disappointment. Power lies in controlled disclosure. Reveal too much, and you hand people the blueprint to your mind. Reveal too little, and you become a mystery they cannot stop trying to solve. Machiavelli understood that mystery sustains influence. When they cannot predict you, they must respect you. When they cannot read you, they must observe you. And that is where attraction deepens. Not through constant availability, but through subtle unpredictability. Remember, not every truth deserves to be told, and not every emotion deserves to be shown. Keep your cards closed, your energy calm, and your intentions folded in silence, because the man who reveals nothing commands everything. Every powerful man understands this paradox. If you want to be desired, you must make others uncertain but never unsafe. There is a difference between confusion and intrigue. One repels, the other intoxicates. And Machiavelli, though he spoke to rulers and courts, understood this human truth better than most lovers ever will. He wrote that men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. And in attraction, the line between both is razor thin. When a woman cannot fully read a man, when she senses there is something about him she cannot decode, she begins to chase clarity. She starts wondering what he really thinks of her, why she cannot figure him out, why his silence feels louder than her words. That is when he stops chasing her and she starts chasing his certainty. But here is what weak men get wrong. They create chaos, not intrigue. They play mind games, not mastery. They confuse manipulation with mystery. The Stoics, who prized reason above impulse, would call this a loss of temperantia, the virtue of balance. Because real control is not about making someone insecure. It is about making them curious. A Machiavellian man grounded in Stoic restraint does not seek attention. He commands it through stillness. He is calm when others panic. He is selective with words. His silence is not emptiness. It is signal. And that silence drives a woman mad with wonder. Most men rush to explain themselves after every small misunderstanding. They write paragraphs, chase validation, or overcompensate with reassurance. But women do not fall for certainty. They chase it. The more a man confirms her every question, the less valuable his attention becomes. When he remains grounded, observant, and unmoved by emotional storms, he stands out in a world of men who crumble at the first sign of disapproval. That calm detachment becomes magnetic. It makes her realize his peace is not negotiable. And that is when she begins to earn it. Machiavelli would say that power is preserved by appearing indispensable. In relationships, that means becoming the emotional center of gravity, not through control, but through composure. A man's value grows in the space between what he says and what he does not. A man who always explains himself reveals insecurity. A man who lets silence carry weight shows confidence. And here is the paradox. When a man stops trying to make a woman understand him, she will spend her energy trying to. She will read his tone, his pauses, his body language. Every glance becomes a question, every word a clue. That is the psychology of attraction at its highest form. Make her chase emotional certainty while you remain still within your own. Remember, desire is born in uncertainty, but respect is born in control. When a man masters both, he does not chase, he attracts. He does not beg for attention. He becomes impossible to ignore. There is a reason Machiavelli warned rulers to learn how not to be good. Not because he promoted cruelty, but because he understood something most people never will. Emotion is the easiest weapon to use against you. In relationships, the same rule applies. The man who cannot control his emotions will always be controlled by someone who can. Watch how quickly a woman loses respect for a man who argues, begs, or pleads from a place of emotional chaos. She does not lose love because he is emotional. She loses respect because he is predictable. His reactions become a map she can read, a switch she can press. Machiavelli believed that a powerful leader must appear compassionate but act with calculation, and that translates to emotional intelligence. Knowing what to feel but never letting emotion make the decision for you. A man who has mastered this does not get drawn into unnecessary fights. He does not try to win every argument. He listens, observes, and responds when it matters most. His calm becomes her storm. Not because he is cold, but because he is untouchable. Look around. Most men are slaves to reaction. They explode when criticized, chase when ignored, and apologize for things they did not do just to keep the peace. They confuse peacekeeping with peace itself. But the Stoics, Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, would laugh at that weakness. Seneca once said that he who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. And that is what Machiavellian attraction truly means. The art of mastering yourself before you attempt to influence anyone else. Emotional control does not mean suppressing your feelings, it means ruling them. Like a king who governs his kingdom, you decide when anger serves purpose and when silence holds more power. You understand that reacting to everything makes you smaller while restraint makes you mysterious. And mystery in human psychology is the seed of attraction. A woman cannot respect a man she can emotionally puppeteer, but she will crave a man she cannot shake. The one who listens calmly as she rants, the one who does not flinch when she tests his patience, the one who smiles when others would scream. That is not weakness. That is mastery. Machiavelli would call it controlling perception. The Stoics would call it governing the mind. But in truth, they meant the same thing. Power begins where reaction ends, because the man who reacts gives power away. The man who observes keeps it, and the man who stays calm when others lose their minds, he becomes unforgettable. So if you want to know what truly separates a powerful man from a desperate one, remember this. It is not his money. It is not his looks. It is his ability to remain unmoved when the world or a woman tries to shake him. The final move of every master is not aggression. It is stillness. Have you ever noticed that the most dangerous man in the room says the least? He does not raise his voice. He does not chase approval. He does not try to prove his worth. Yet somehow everyone, including the woman he is speaking to, leans in closer. That silence is not weakness. It is control. Machiavelli once wrote that a wise man must appear virtuous but remain untied to virtue when strategy demands it. In other words, he knew the truth modern men have forgotten. Charm is a weapon, and composure is the shield that protects it. When a man talks to women from a place of control, when he leads the interaction instead of reacting to it, he stops playing the game everyone else is playing. He becomes the mystery. He becomes the challenge. Because while most men flood conversations with compliments, questions, and apologies, the man who knows his worth does not need to impress. He lets the silence do it for him. Attraction is not born from words, it is born from presence. And presence can only come from stillness, the kind that Stoics spent their entire lives cultivating. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. That is the core of what both Machiavelli and the Stoics understood. The man who controls himself controls every room he walks into. So the next time you speak to a woman, do not ask 100 questions trying to fill the air. Do not chase her validation through constant words. Instead, guide the energy. Be calm, be measured, speak when it adds weight, and let silence do the rest, because silence is not emptiness, it is pressure. And pressure when controlled is power. Women do not fall for the loudest man, They fall for the one who feels like he does not need anyone to fall for him. That is Machiavellian magnetism. That is Stoic composure. It is not arrogance. It is self-possession. In a world where men compete for attention, the rare one who does not become unforgettable. He is the man who listens more than he speaks. The one whose eyes do not beg but measure. The one whose tone is calm even when tested. He does not dominate the room. He centers it. And that is the paradox of true power. When you stop chasing control, you become it. So remember, when you talk to a woman, you are not just talking to her. You are revealing how much you have mastered yourself. The real secret is not in what you say. It is in the strength you can hold back. If this video helped you in one way or another, please support the channel using the Super Thanks button. Your help means a lot, and it helps us keep creating better content, especially for you. Every contribution allows us to continue delivering these insights and helping men like you navigate the complexities of relationships with wisdom and integrity. Stay grounded, stay present, and I will see you right here in the next one.